Every driver in the NASCAR garage knows exactly what Shane Van Gisbergen is doing with his feet. The in-car cameras have shown it. The SMT data has proven it. Not one of them can copy it. And now, after watching the New Zealander win 8 of his 16 road course starts, NASCAR officials have finally decided to do something about it. The right foot braking technique that SVG brought from Supercars, the clutch modulation that Dale Earnhardt Jr. called impossible to learn, is now officially under review. And the changes coming down the pipeline may end his advantage for good. This is the full story of what SVG's secret actually is, why NASCAR is cracking down, and what it means for the chase hopes of the sport's most dominant road course killer. If you are a NASCAR fan who wants honest technical breakdowns with no fluff and no bias, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment below telling us, is NASCAR right to crack down on SVG's technique, or are they punishing excellence? And smash that like button so more race fans find this channel. Now, let us get into it. Shane Van Gisbergen has won half of his road course starts in the Cup Series. Jeff Gordon won less than 1 in 5. That contrast is the story. Gordon, the all-time road course king, needed 47 starts to reach 9 wins. SVG needed 16. He swept both races at Sonoma, won at Watkins Glen, Chicago, Mexico City, and Charlotte. 5 consecutive road course victories dating back to last season, and he shows no sign of slowing. The 2026 chase format has changed everything. The old win and you are in provision is gone. Wins now carry 55 points instead of 40, but the playoff grid is determined solely by regular season points. If the 2026 system had been in place last year, SVG would have scraped into the postseason on points alone. This year, he is hovering around the cut line, and that makes every road race worth double. Chase Briscoe pointed out that SVG's tire conservation is what makes him unbeatable. AJ Allmendinger put it simply, he knows how to manage that better than anybody so far. The entire garage watches his data, studies his pedal traces, and still cannot figure out how to close the gap. Everyone knows what he is doing, but knowing and replicating are two very different things. But here is the thing most people still get wrong about SVG's advantage. It is not about raw talent or deeper braking zones. What actually separates him from the field is happening 3 feet below the steering wheel, and most drivers cannot even feel it. The first layer is right foot braking. In V8 Supercars, that is the default. In NASCAR, left foot braking has been the standard for decades. Joey Logano tried the switch at Watkins Glen and bailed out before the session ended. His teammate Austin Cindric also gave it a go, even running a Supercars wildcard in Adelaide last year to practice the craft. Neither stuck with it. Switching requires overcoming years of muscle memory, and in a sport where tenths of a second decide races, there is no time for a relearning curve. The second layer cuts deeper. Dale Earnhardt Jr. broke it down on his podcast. SVG keeps his foot on the clutch and modulates it to dampen the load on the drivetrain. He uses the clutch to pitch the car in the middle of the corner, deep in the braking zone. That protects the rear tires from locking up and bouncing. It also assists turn-in, allowing him to rotate the car earlier than anyone else. Junior called it a technique that you need to be doing from the day you start driving race cars, something that cannot be picked up in a weekend tutorial. The third layer is the Supercars origin. SVG learned this because he had to. In a V8 Supercar with a lock differential, you would have to run so much rear brake to make the car turn that you could control the rear lock in the brake zone. The next-gen Cup car does not require that, because the differential is open, but SVG does it anyway. It is all he has ever known, and it gives him a level of rear tire management that the regulars simply cannot access. The fourth layer is the secret he guards. Junior revealed that SVG did not want cameras on his feet during races. If they put a foot camera in there, he kicked it out of the way. SVG jokes that the camera just gets in the way because of his big feet, but Kevin Harvick sees it differently. He says SVG holds his cards fairly close to his vest and has a great poker face. That quiet refusal to show his footwork tells you everything about how valuable he considers this advantage. The fifth layer is tire conservation. Todd Gilliland explained that the way to drive like SVG is to use lower gears and keep the car very straight instead of sliding. That is obviously proven very hard to do. Less experienced drivers burn through rubber trying to keep up with his pace, while SVG keeps his tires underneath him without making them angry. That is why his lap times stay consistent when everyone else falls off. He is doing things with his left foot that most Cup drivers have never even attempted, and the ones who have tried gave up before the weekend was over. Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, Ross Chastain, all of them tried and failed. Chastain admitted that he can do it intentionally for like a corner or three, and then he gets to the next corner, the next lap, and he goes back to his way. It is just muscle memory, he said. My feet are on the wrong pedals when I do it his way. He called it humbling to see how much faster SVG is. He is the best of the generation that I have raced against, for sure. Denny Hamlin was taught right foot braking 20 years ago, but going back is not an option. He doubts younger drivers will take it up. The muscle memory is so baked in that even the most talented drivers cannot override it in a race setting. And the open book SMT data system, designed to help teams study each other, has only confirmed what they already knew. The data shows exactly what SVG is doing with his feet, but the data cannot teach your foot to follow. Kevin Harvick added another layer of context during a recent broadcast, noting that SVG's data traces show a pulse on the clutch pedal that no other driver has even attempted to mimic. He called it a rhythm, not a technique, because it requires a timing that cannot be programmed into a simulator. That is why even the most advanced telemetry analysis comes up empty. You can see the wave, but you cannot surf it. Dale Earnhardt Jr. said it best. There is not a single driver in the Cup Series today who could learn this technique and do it well. Not one. He used stronger language than that. There is no chance, no way in hell. That is not hyperbole. That is the consensus of every expert who has analyzed this. SVG himself downplays the whole thing. He says people overthink it, and he does not think it is a big advantage. But his rivals know better. They have spent hours in the simulator trying to replicate his braking trace. They have watched his in-car footage on loop. They have studied his throttle and clutch inputs until their eyes hurt, and they still cannot do it. That is the core of the injustice. The playing field is not level. NASCAR has built a car that allows this technique to be a differentiator, but only one driver can execute it, and now the sanctioning body is finally stepping in. The 2026 chase format demands oval consistency, not just road course wins. The top 16 drivers in points after the regular season make the playoffs, and SVG is currently hovering around the cut line. He is the points leader at Trackhouse, but his teammates Ross Chastain sits 19th and Connor Zilisch 32nd. That puts the entire team's playoff hopes on SVG's shoulders, and his oval development has been hampered by NASCAR's prohibitive practice rules. Christopher Bell believes that SVG is tremendously handicapped by the lack of practice time, because oval racing is still relatively new to him. Consider the point spread. As of mid-June, SVG is only 12 points above the cut line, meaning a single bad finish could drop him out entirely. Every road course win this year is worth 55 points, the equivalent of an oval top 5 plus stage points. That is why the San Diego and Sonoma races are not just trophies. They are survival multipliers. SVG cannot afford to leave those weekends without maximum points, and losing his foot technique edge would force him to race on pure oval speed, which no one in the garage believes he has yet. The calendar includes only 2 more road races before the chase, San Diego on June 21st and Sonoma on June 28th. SVG needs to bank as many points as possible now, because if the rule change comes before the chase, he will have to race the final 10 races without his secret weapon. That is not a small shift. That is a complete reset of his competitive identity. If NASCAR takes away his right foot braking advantage, Shane Van Gisbergen does not just lose a technique. He loses the only thing that makes him unbeatable on road courses. His raw talent is undeniable, his racecraft is elite, but the gap he currently enjoys is built on a foundation that nobody else can replicate. Removing that foundation does not level the field. It tilts it in the opposite direction. The officials have not yet announced the exact language of the change, but the intention is clear. They want to eliminate any technique that gives a single team an unreplicable edge, even if that edge comes from a driver's lifelong muscle memory rather than a mechanical loophole. That distinction matters. SVG did not cheat. He did not find a gray area in the rulebook. He simply brought a skill from another discipline, and that skill happens to work better in the next-gen car than anyone anticipated. But in a sport that prides itself on parity, an unreplicable skill becomes a competitive problem. The broadcasters can